Welcome to Actions and Limits. My name is Justin Atherton. I'm the Peak Performance Consultant for Confidence Unchained. With me as always is Paul Fortune. Paul is a mindset coach and the founder of A Call to Action. And together, we make Actions and Limits. Welcome to the show, the podcast where we talk about the actions we can take and the limits we create. Paul, 4th of July is coming up. I know you're excited to talk about this, and we brought on a special guest with us. So, Chuck, also glad to have you on with us on the show again.
Good to be on the show again. Thanks for having me.
So 4th of July is coming up, Paul. So.
Happy birthday, America. It is 4th of July time. I love it. Fireworks. I love the fireworks that go boom and then boom and then boom and then boom and then boom. I mean, like those are the expensive stuff, The
3-layer, the 4-layer.
They just keep going and going and going and going. Those are the ones I love. And then the song that I like going over top of that is the song by Neil Diamond, We're Coming to America.
I do like that song.
Can you sing us a couple bars there, Justin, of We're Coming to America?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, huh?
Yeah.
Coming to America.
Today.
Yeah, the ending of that song gets a little bit repetitive, but no, great song. There's a lot of, people out there that have different traditions and different ways that they celebrate 4th of July. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what are some of those things, Paul? Like, what are some traditions or things that you like to celebrate for 4th of July?
Well, it's kind of fun that we have Chuck on the show today, because a lot of times I'm actually spending 4th of July at his house and doing some stuff there in the Tustin area. They have a fireworks show, I think, at 9 o'clock or something when it gets dark. He has his kids and his friends' kids, and they all run amok, around the house. And, we all eat good food and barbecue and have some good drinks. So a lot of times I'm hanging out with Chuck's crew. So I guess we could throw it to Chuck, and he can kind of go into what normally happens at a Thrashestein. Is that Thrashestein? Did I say it correctly?
The most glorious nation of Thrashestan. You have to use the complete. We came up with that name years ago, but I really enjoy 4th of July because usually you have different events with different groups of friends, and 4th of July, a lot of people have different traditions. So we cast a big net and say whoever wants to come, we're having people over, and we end up with kind of a random spotty, people from different circles, and which makes it fun because it's a little bit more intermingling. Everybody's obviously got a common thing they're celebrating. But 1 year, and this wasn't a tradition, this was just 1 year, day after Thanksgiving, turkeys were $5 each. So we threw one in the freezer and we made it for 4th of July. So we had turkey one 4th of July. And
there you go.
I'd like that to come back as a tradition, because that was great. But the other thing that we do, we actually started this tradition in my neighborhood. I think I mentioned before, I'm still involved in the Tustin Preservation Conservancy. It's a small nonprofit group in my neighborhood, and we kind of look out for the preservation of Old Town and everything. It's a historic district. A lot of people don't know Tustin is a historic city, but it's the second oldest city in Orange County, second to Santa Ana. But what we started 4 years ago, this would be the 4th year, and I don't know if we're going to do it because of all this stuff going on, and the rules with assembly and all that, but we actually started an Old Town kid bike 4th of July parade. Me and one other person kind of were really pushing for it as a new thing. And 4 years ago, we started doing it. And actually, I dressed up as a bald eagle and marched in front of a bunch of kids going around the block with a wagon playing John Philip Sosa really loud across the whole neighborhood. And we just send out mailers, and it's usually local families. If they're around for the holiday, then they show up, and it's usually a group of 20 to 40 people. So it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds super fun, man. Yeah, it's you're creating things like that for the community, like your neighborhood, and just having something, you know, unique to what's going on in the area to be able to celebrate the 4th of July. I think that's super awesome. I think my favorite thing, something I did last year, it seems pretty basic, but it's just like going out to like a park or a big field or something, listening to some live music and hanging around long enough to, you know, watch some fireworks at night. You know, it's just everyone's out there having a good time, just intermingling. I think, you know, they were playing good enough music to, if you found a good spot in the grass, you could kind of get up and dance a little bit. So I think me and my girlfriend were doing that for a little while, and then, you know, and out there grilling and having some good food, right? So it's a time to, you know, remember what our country's about. And I actually pulled up some trivia questions, you know, because there's you know, we pass through these holidays, and, you know, a lot of people will go like, I don't know what this is about. I don't know what Veterans Day is about. I don't know what Memorial Day is about. You know, I think it's important to understand what each of these days is really about, you know, because, you know, these holidays are very important to our country and our history, you know, as, you know, America. So I've got some cool trivia here, and I'm gonna be testing you guys through, you know, maybe a couple times throughout the show, and you know, our listeners can kind of do it along as well. I want to find a fun one here.
Oh man,
You know
now I'm nervous.
Let's do this one. You know, there's basic ones, right? Like, who wrote the Declaration of Independence?
That would be Bruce Springsteen. Am I right?
I would say on a second guess of that, Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, that's right. He was tasked with, you know, the creation, although the entire Continental Congress helped finalize it. He was the main one, you know, that wrote it. But, you know, there's so many different things going on. So.
You know, I did some research on Ben Franklin because he's one of my favorite historical people. And a couple cool things about him that most people don't know is when he was 16 years old, he was a apprentice of the printing shop for a newspaper that his brother was running, his older brother. And he also wanted to write for the paper, but his brother didn't want him to write in the paper. So he would write in as a old widow, and he would write like he was an old widow. And the popularity of his column got so big that there was people around the area where his newspaper was, where they were trying to write in and get dates with Ben Franklin, not knowing that it was a 16-year-old boy writing as a widower. So kind of a fun thing. And he also wrote an article about the importance of farting. That doesn't come out very much, but he wrote I didn't read the article, but he said that how important farting is. So just to keep that in the back of your mind.
Better out than in, right?
For the purpose of humor, I mean, or healthy. I have so many questions now.
Yeah. Like, now go read that article.
Yeah.
Break the road. Yeah, that's a cool little fact, right? You know, the creativity, you know, behind someone trying to figure out, how am I going to get published in this? I'm just going to write in these different manners. So, no, that's super fun facts about Benjamin Franklin. There you go.
I got a few too. I got a few more. We'll sprinkle around the episode here too.
So do we think? I know, Chuck, you mentioned it, that there may be an issue with assembly out where you're at. Do you guys think that there's, you know, going to be a continued issue with this, like getting together in large groups? I assume, you know, we've got a couple different things going on, right? We've got protests and COVID simultaneously happening. So it's like, how is all that going to affect any celebrations that are going to be happening?
It's hard to say. I mean, it feels like it changes week to week. And
Sure.
So we're actually meeting tomorrow with the board to see if we're going to do it this year. And I don't know what we're going to do, but, you know, I think the rule is still 10 people. So, and it's generally only about 30 people. And, you know, you're in a little kid bike parade, you technically could spread out about 6 feet apart, and, you know, we don't close any streets in order to do it or anything. We just kind of go around. There's a big block with a school and a park on it, and we kind of make a pattern that stretches it out. So, you know, we might be able to do it, but I don't know what people are going to do with their friends. You know, I get the feeling that people are starting to get sick of being caught inside, and people are starting to come out of their shell. People are being more comfortable, assembling at least privately, and I think people are going to have backyard barbecues just like normal. Maybe some of the huge stuff will be a little more tame. Like one thing that comes to mind is that the largest 4th of July parade west of the Mississippi. You know which one I'm talking about, Paul?
I do not know.
Huntington Beach.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I used to participate in that parade as a youngster.
It is a big deal. And if you live on the parade route, people will wander into your house. It's just, everything's fair game, not in a bad way. They just, they're there to party. But I wonder what that's going to be like. I don't know.
I think they, I'm not quite certain, but I think they may have canceled it. I know they canceled the fireworks show, but maybe the parade. I don't know if they did it or not. But yeah, that was a great thing. I remember having my Cub Scout uniform on, marching down the street, down Main Street there. It's a fun time down in Huntington Beach during that time, just because the weather's so. I know you live down there, Chuck, as well, but the weather there, it's just perfect. You're so close to the ocean, so it's not so hot and it's not cold because it's obviously in the middle of the summer.
Almost every day of the year. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a great place to be, especially on 4th of July. And like you said, everybody is just so upbeat and happy, and all cultures are represented there. And if you're there to have fun, then you're with the group. That's all that matters down there at that time. And it's great to see. And I see that a lot of other communities as well. But yeah, 4th of July in Huntington Beach is quite fun. Going back to what you were talking about with the COVID-19 and people kind of shifting a little bit, and kind of going out a little bit more and socializing with people and everything like that. And I think that hopefully it gets to a point where people are just respectful of other people. So if people, are uncomfortable, with going out or whatever, they have that right to just kind of go out and kind of separate from everybody else, and that's perfectly fine. But I think that hopefully, some of this, responsible get-togethers can still happen. We don't need to, rub each other's hands and breathe on each other at all. But I mean, we could still get together and be responsible with it and still have a good time. Because I think the science of it is getting, we're kind of finding out more about the COVID-19. And I heard, and I heard this from Dr. Drew, and I don't know how, I don't know where he got his stats from, but Dr. Drew was saying it's very hard for the COVID-19 to spread outside in the heat. I don't know if you guys heard that too. So that's definitely a good sign, especially during 4th of July where it is hot outside and such.
Yeah, my only thought with that is maybe it's something with it, the particles are evaporating very quickly, so they're traveling less. That's my only possible thought with that. But.
Right. And yeah, from I guess an architect's perspective, the best way to, I guess you'd call it dilution. You add outside air to a space. That's the quickest way to flush out the pathogens, whatever's floating around. I've heard that it doesn't do well in the heat. So direct sunlight, I think, kills it pretty quick. But, people have been asking me, how can we make our building safer? And, you get these recommendations from, insurance companies saying, oh, convert your HVAC to 100% outside air. Well, that's probably a $250,000 project to replace the whole system. You can't just do that, but, the best thing to do in a building is if the weather's mild, open the windows, because that is the most efficient way to get air in and out of the building and just dilute the air that's being recirculated in the building. Cause you're not gonna be able to get filters that can filter it without changing the unit. And
that makes sense.
And so being outside is even better than being in a building with the windows open,
Yeah. So hopefully those are factors that they take into consideration, because I'm looking at one of these questions here. It says, how many people travel at least 50 miles for Independence Day celebrations? You guys give me a rough number. What do you think?
How many people are in the United States? Is this in the United States? Is this?
It's going to be probably for the United States.
Okay. How many people are in the United States roughly?
330 million. I think.
330 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you said how many travel
More than 50 miles? Yeah.
More than 50 miles. I'd say if you said 330 million, I would say let me give me 100 million, Alex.
I'll say 220.
Okay, wow, you guys way up actually. This is reports from 2015 was like 42 million people make nearly an hour trip to go somewhere to celebrate. So
I thought it'd be more.
Yeah, so they're ramping it up, right? They're getting out there. People are like, hey, like you said, whether it's the Huntington Beach, celebration or other events. I think last year I drove up to Dallas, so that's like a 3-hour trip to go celebrate 4th of July with friends and family. So, it's important to people. They get out there, they go somewhere. It's not just somewhere, like you guys said, maybe now it's going to just end up being around in the backyard, but there's
right. I think a lot of people, what I wasn't thinking about is block parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all live together. Let's just have a big party. So, those people don't travel, and there's a lot of block parties around here. Sure. I'd like to try to get that going around here someday.
Do it. But, maybe do a social distancing block party. Be like, you gotta stay in your little square over there. Like, tape it out.
We'll paint a grid on the street and say, okay, you're in G4,
One of the unfortunate things that will happen though is that, people will see these block parties going on, or maybe a large gathering in a backyard, and people are going to start calling, the police on their neighbors. And hopefully we can refrain from some of that. Like, don't get offended just because you weren't invited to the party. It just just let people do what they do and kind of mind your own business. I don't know. There's a couple different thoughts on that. We don't have to go into all that, but
that goes for a lot of things.
it does. It really does. So hopefully people can figure out, what they're going to do. So Paul, did you have any plans? Are you just going to join Chuck if his event gets going? What do you think?
I haven't been invited yet, so I don't know about that one yet.
Yeah, we haven't decided that.
I don't know if I made the final cut. 10. It's 10. He has to. It's 10 people now, so
10.
It's got to be his top 10 list now.
That's right.
So I might not be. I might be 11 or 12, and then that means no go. I haven't really made any particular plans on it yet. It's kind of a damper, I would say. In the Long Beach area, there's an area, in the Bayshore area where a lot of people gather, and we'll see if they allow that to happen, because in years past, it wasn't social distancing. Everybody was, together. It was peaceful and fun, but, with how it is today, I don't know if they're going to allow that, which is a shame, but, I get it. You want to try to keep, people safe as much as you can, on that. So, we'll see on it, but, I enjoy that time of year, because a lot of people, take time off from work, and are spending time with their friends and family. They go on trips during that time. It's kind of a slower time in work, so to speak. I'd say July and August, I think a lot of people are kind of out and about. They're not really home. A lot of people take vacations, so it's kind of fun during that time to kind of recharge the battery and go, on a vacation. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to change things if people start going on vacations again soon. It's starting to open up a little bit. I know some friends of mine that have gone to Mexico for vacation, so that vacationing out there is starting to happen, and and it's good. It's good for a lot of people depend on it. Economy. Like I don't know if Hawaii's still on it, but Hawaii had a 14-day quarantine. And that's just going to kill, travel there. I mean, I don't know anybody that would want to go there unless they live there, for, their whole trip's going to be in quarantine. So hopefully some of that might be lifted, when they feel it's safe. so that, hotels and people in the community can, get back to work.
Yeah, I've heard, obviously different states are working at different levels. Texas is opening up at a pretty rapid rate. I heard Vegas, they're starting to open back up in the casinos. So a lot of those travel restrictions are being removed. It's just about the specific states, and with everything else going on as well, it's like, where do you want to end up? Where do you want to be? So, because there's still some major cities that are, having some issues, but yeah, I think people will start getting around more. But getting back to eating hot dogs, and for the
Do you guys watch that? Thing on ESPN? Joey Chestnut, man, that guy is just a stud. How many hot dogs he can put down?
Hot dog eating competition.
Oh man, that guy is awesome. He's a legend. I mean, geez, you
Talk
really
about a real athlete, right?
He
How
is.
fast can you eat?
He is. He's a real athlete, man. He trains hard for that. I mean, to put that many hot dogs down, I mean, that is legit. I mean, this guy's putting in some time, and the competition. I mean, there was a year where I think he lost it to a younger gentleman in his 20s, but then he went right back, and I think he was beating the competition by 10, 12 dogs. I mean, geez.
I love how
talk about
passionate
commitment
you are about this, Paul. It's
Joey Chestnut, man. That guy's legit, man.
the last. The last guy I remember was, there was, an Asian guy that was
Kobayashi. Kobayashi has been outdated for years and years.
That's the last time I watched an eating competition.
Yeah, he was the champion for a while. Yeah,
yeah.
I guess he was cheating at some point, but that's funny. Look, I found a question in reference to hot dogs. It says, approximately how many hot dogs do Americans eat on 4th of July?
Ooh, I'm gonna guess one per head. So let's say 330 million.
I'm going to go less than that. I'm going to go 200 million, Alex.
See, I don't like how they answered this question. So it says
you have to say what is, Paul, if you're going
what is 200 million, Alex?
The answer here, it says the amount of hot dogs consumed could fit across the entire United States over 5 times.
Okay, I'll do some math while we're talking.
Yeah, right. It's like, but is it like lengthwise, or is it stacking them sideways? Because that's a huge difference, right? So I don't know.
I would guess lengthwise to make it sound more impressive, right?
Sure, yeah. But I that's a horrible way to answer that question. They shouldn't even put that in there. But it sounds like a lot. If we eat enough hot dogs to run across the United States 5 times, that's we're putting down a lot of hot dogs. So.
Well, when you think of American food, right? I mean, that's the number one, right? Hot dogs, maybe is hamburgers considered, but I know hot dogs for sure.
I guess they kind of come in the same sentence, right? Like,
yeah. What do you prefer? What do you guys prefer?
Chuck, what do you think?
Sorry, I missed that. I was doing hot dog math.
No, what do you prefer, hot dogs or hamburgers?
Oh, I got to have both.
Yeah,
always.
Simultaneously,
well, 2 of each.
Plate.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Usually I'm cooking it, and usually the hot dogs first, just because they cook faster and they're easy for me to just grab a bun, pull it off the grill, and eat it really fast. Hamburger, you got to take a little bit more time to fix it up. So yeah, usually hot dog, hamburger, hot dog, maybe. Hamburger.
Way to be politically correct on the answer there, Chuck.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, hamburgers definitely. I could go without hot dogs if it's like a good hearty, like I put a bratwurst on there or something like a hearty. Give me some extra meat. A hot dog, like the basic hot dogs, I'm like, what am I gonna do with this?
Well, if you want a good hot dog, you have to go to Disneyland and go to Cool Corner. Those hot dogs are phenomenal. They are so good, so juicy and plump when you take a bite. They're one of the best hot dogs around. So if you when COVID's over and you get to go back to Disneyland, hit up Coke Corner for a good hot dog.
Well, I'll make it a point. I will go out there just to get a hot dog.
That's an expensive hot dog if they're just going for that reason alone.
I'm just getting a hot dog and I'm going to leave. So, so fireworks, I remember like being a kid and like just having like, those snakes. I don't know why those stand out the most to me. Those little snakes you would light as a kid, like that's for me. That's like one of my biggest memories, in lighting those and just watching them burn, like more than any of the other bigger fireworks. For me, it was like lighting those little ones and just like watching it burn up.
Because it was up close and personal, and you got to control it and watch it, and it's like your creation, you know.
Yeah, it was like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. I got to light something on fire, you know.
So what about the answer for the hot dog question? Okay, I don't remember what was your answer, Paul? I think you were closer than me.
200 million.
200? Okay, yeah, you were closer, but we both went over. So average hot dog's about 6 inches long. Okay, 2 hot dogs per foot. Okay, there's 5280 feet in a mile. Okay, and it's 2802 miles across the U.S. You said 5 times, Justin?
Yeah, 5 times.
Okay, so you multiply those out, you get 147,945,600 hot dogs. So about 150 million.
That's a lot of hot dogs, guys.
So it's about 1 hot dog for every 2 people.
I love that you figured
What kind of Americans
it out.
are these? I guess we're not factoring in babies that can't eat hot dogs yet.
Right? Yeah. It's like of hot dog eating age.
That's right. Yeah. Resurvey. Come on. Yeah.
No, that's super funny. 150 million. Thanks for doing the math on that, Chuck.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, going back to the fireworks, I love those. As a kid, I love those small little ones. I know, Chuck, your kids use them, where you throw them and they spark and they make a noise. You know, like it's fun to say dance and then throw it. You know, and
yeah, my kids do that to me. Yes.
But again, maybe that's more of being up close and personal, right? It's not something you're gonna like blow your thumb off, so the kids can, you know, have fun with their own little fireworks and just, you know, mess with dad, right? And be like, here you go, dad. Bah, bah.
Yeah.
So those are fun memories to have, and you know, I don't know, maybe is that happening now? I guess you're saying your kids are out there doing that, and you know, having fun with their little personal fireworks. It gets dangerous right as you get older and start messing with big boys. So
I never played with any of that stuff. Yeah. You know, I haven't seen the snakes as a kid, but the poppers and the other thing they like are the sparklers. You know, we usually have a fire pit out back, and they dip them in, or you know, use a tiki torch to light it and wave it around in their brother's face, and you're like, whoa, stop! You know, a little bit more safety rules with those that we're trying to get locked in with, but yeah, it's good stuff having the hands-on, intimate fireworks.
Hey, does anybody have any tidbits on the Revolutionary War, since we're talking about Independence Day? Anything going on there?
So I got one. So I tend to be more interested in technology facts, right? So this one I think is interesting. I don't know how many people know this, but during the Revolutionary War was the first submarine attack.
Really?
Submarine attack. It was called the American Turtle. It was this acorn-shaped thing that one guy got in, and they dropped him in the shore to go out to the British ships waiting off the shore, and he went over to it submerged, and there was a hand-powered drill with the shaft leaving out the front. He was the goal was to drill a hole in the hull of the ship and put a bomb in there. It never worked. The drill could never get through the hole, and there were a couple bombs placed near the ship, and they just went off without incident. So it was an attempted attack that was unsuccessful, but the submersible vehicle worked. So it was kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
That far back in time that they had a submarine.
Right.
That's crazy. That's great.
Right. And they weren't even rifling guns at that point. You know, that was a huge deal, you know, accuracy. That was until the mid 1800s, but
I guess they weren't thinking about the force it would take to actually keep a drill attached to the side of the boat and drill into it. It's like he kept bumping himself away. Like, I'm going to float away.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine even with the right tools trying to drill through inches of metal? Like, it's not easy. A hole big enough to get a bomb in, you know.
It was a good idea, right? They're like, what else are we going to do? Let's try.
They're ahead of their time, you know.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact. I don't know the year, but did you know that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died on the same day? And you know what the day they died?
July 4th, I think, right?
July 4th.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
They do that on
on the
purpose?
same day and year, or the
Same day. Same day and year they died.
Were they holding hands?
No, they were they were best friends, back in the day. But then during politics and stuff, they became, not so friendly. And rumor states that just a few months before they actually reconciled, and for them to die like that's crazy.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a cool stat.
Really good documentary. Just as a side note, I think it was a Netflix original, the John Adams documentary. Did you guys watch that?
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh, it's really good. It's right when they start to decide for revolution. It's very high level politics and all those guys, all the founding fathers, and what was at stake, and they're talking with France, and it's really, really well done. I recommend it.
Now, is it true that they were hanging out at a pub in Boston called the Green Dragon, drinking beer while they were coming up with plans on the revolution?
I don't remember if that was in the documentary or not. I know that the Star Spangled Banner was written later, right, during the War of 1812.
Yeah, Francis E. Key or something like that,
Scott
right?
Key, Francis Scott Key. Yeah.
Francis Scott Key.
Yeah, but that came later, and it was based on a British drinking song. Did you know that?
No.
Mm-mm.
So the tone, I guess it's common knowledge, right? The national anthem is quite. There's quite a range required to sing that, and I guess what it was before was it was to the tune of a British drinking song, and the drinking song, the purpose it served was if the bartender thought you were too drunk, he had you sing the song, and if you could sing the song, you got another drink.
Oh, interesting.
little test for you. Like if you can still sing this, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're 86th. Yeah.
Oh, is that why they say, "Oh, say, can you sing"?
I don't think that's the lyrics, Paul. I don't think
Right.
that's the lyrics.
I'd be curious to know what the lyrics were. Yeah. Actually, speaking of the British, my favorite, the T-shirt I don't have, but I'd like is it's a big British flag and it says "Happy Treason Day, you ungrateful colonials." I love that. It's British humor,
There you go.
What's funny is one of Ben's kids was a loyalist, and they never reconciled.
Are you on first name basis with Ben Franklin now? Ben's kids?
Ben's kids, yeah.
Benny,
Mr.
Benny.
Franklin, excuse me.
Yeah, Benny.
Benny and the
Benny.
Jets.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about alcohol, for this, here's another cool question. In 1778, it says George Washington celebrated Independence Day by giving what to his soldiers? I'll even give you some guys options. It says rum, new uniforms, whiskey, or new weapons.
I was gonna say moonshine, but I'll go with whiskey as my.
If he goes by whiskey, I'll just say rum, just to be adversary.
Yeah, it says that they gave him double their usual allowance in rum.
Oh, wow.
Okay, pirates. I like it.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's double your rations for rum for the week. Let's celebrate, So,
Great.
Another fun little tip there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know 4th of July is in a few days. I've got plans to be with my family. It probably will be something local that I'll be doing. So nothing like crazy. No huge events. I don't think that are really going to be happening nearby. So probably just going to keep it pretty simple and maybe grill out and enjoy some hot dogs and hamburgers. Nothing like Paul's hot dog he talks about, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's really important to realize like what it really means, these holidays. I think we kind of touched on at the beginning of the episode too, like whether it's Memorial Day or Veterans Day, like realizing like it's not just another day to like grill out and take off of work and drink yourself silly. Like these were historic things that happened in our country, right? Like we separated ourselves from this government that was oppressing us, and we're able to create a new country and create the best country in the world. I mean, you can't put something else out there as being better as far as the rights and the privileges that we have in this country. we all have complaints, right? But there is nowhere else that you have as many rights and privileges as you do here in the United States. So that's something that we should all be very thankful for. Are there things that need to be fixed and adjusted? Heck yeah. But there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about, during that time, the Revolutionary War, the Americans were the underdog. They weren't supposed to win that war,
Sure.
but they did. And there's something to that American spirit that drives our country. That if there's a will, there's a way. And we've had that since the founding fathers to now. There's people out there constantly improving our country, constantly improving medicine, constantly improving in technology. And it's a privilege to be around these people and see these geniuses at work, because it's just unbelievable.
I
We're
love
still
that
considered the land of opportunity, right?
Exactly. And I love, like, I was thinking about just the ingenuity, like Chuck, you're bringing up the submarine, the first submarine ever, and we continue to do that today. We've had guests on the show to talk about, like, through all this COVID and everything, new ways that people are doing business and new ways that people are, putting different products out there. So that American ingenuity, it's like, we will figure it out, and like you said, Paul, that driving spirit to be like, hey, what needs to get done? Hey, let's try this. Oh, hey, that submarine didn't work. Let's do something different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, figure it out. And,
Right.
it having that spirit, right?
And it's not to say that, we have the smartest people in the world, but it's like you said, Justin, the country is the platform. It's the environment that allows that creativity to actually come forward and be used.
Yeah. Be in that place and be like, hey, yeah. And it's almost like leadership, right? Because if you think you're the smartest guy in the room, guess what? You're not.
Right.
So collect everybody. Like, who are the smartest minds? Like, who do we need for this project? Let's grab those people and put them to work and say, hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just get it done.
Right.
Figure it out.
Yeah, and let them be the owners of their work. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I know you've talked about that before with your company and owning or being that partner in the architect firm and having those people in place and not micromanaging. So I think, as a country, it's something to look at, and not micromanaging the businesses that are out there that are doing a lot of good, and the small business owners that want to, get off their feet and create new products and new jobs. Let's not, crush their spirits before they get off the ground by red tape and all these rules and regulations that they have to abide by, which some of those can be tough, for small businesses to start up or get back into the groove after all this stuff that's been going on. So, but I think we can do it. American ingenuity, that persistence that we have, that, no matter what, we're going to get it done. So I'm excited to celebrate.
We are doing it.
Yeah, we are doing it, right?
You're actively doing it.
I think, what was it? A couple weeks ago, they talked about, I think, 2.5 million jobs that were created, even, just coming out of, some of the restrictions of the COVID. We're going to do it. We're going to continue to do it. We're actively doing it right now. So that whole process is never ending. And nothing can keep that, American.
Well, we had a guest recently on the show, Mark Schaefer. He was talking about that. The entrepreneurship after the COVID-19 is going to be unreal. It's going to be great to see the innovation that's going to come out of this. So excited to keep my ear and eyes on what's going on and look forward.
Even during, I have a friend and partner for the side thing we got going on, but he runs a print shop and other things. He does embroidery, shirt printing, 3D printing, all kinds of stuff. And actually he even pivoted during this time to come up with a way to 3D print masks or actually laser cut them, because 3D printing takes too long. He was able to produce 2 a minute or something like that and sell them for $1, $2 or something like that. And so he came up with a cheap way to mass produce them, and he was calling for donations. and they were personally delivering him to hospitals all over. And now he's kind of coming out of that initial emergency. He's pivoting and creating acrylic shields for businesses, because you go through stores and there's more and more different devices you see separating the clerk from the people. And so, I mean, yeah, he's already in it, in the thick of it, of pivoting to adjust to the.
Yeah. I think Paul, you talked about it before. You don't have to be the first one, to hop in it, but it's like see what's going on out there and being like, yeah, I can do that. Like let's figure it out. Maybe I can do it better. Let's tweak some things.
Right.
Let's figure out what we can do and get in that race. So, it's a constant thing that you see in our country that you don't see elsewhere. So I'm definitely, proud to be here and excited to celebrate 4th of July coming up here in a few days, guys. So, man, you got any more like random facts that you want to share about 4th of July? Is there anything?
One thing I found out was, have you heard of what's it called? Shoot, it's the early espionage is actually.
I heard about that too. There was a show on
Culper
television.
Spy Ring.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Culper Spy Ring. So they were based in New York City, which was British occupied. And I would have thought espionage, of some form would have been earlier than this, but they were operating among the British in New York and, transmitting, detailed drawings of fortifications and talking about even just writing letters about British morale that was current at the time. They were writing things in invisible ink to where you had to rub chemical on it for it to come through. I mean, this national treasure level stuff, right? They were actually doing that. And actually, I heard it was so secret that it wasn't public information until like 1930.
Oh, wow.
So nobody knew about it for 160 years.
That's pretty
and
cool.
And I think one was caught and executed, but for the most part they were pretty good about being secret. And actually George Washington oftentimes directed them, and he was very concerned about their safety, so he was helping them with methods to lay low, but he would also say, I need information on this or that, or what's their morale like right now. So he was the kind of the ultimate strategist of the Revolutionary War.
What about Benedict Arnold? Wasn't he on the opposite side? Wasn't he a spy for the British?
I don't know much about him.
Yeah, I think you're right, Paul. I think that's kind of where they get that term, like don't be a Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
Don't be a traitor type of thing. So, yeah, that's the interesting thing, right? Like when you're on the good side of it, like, oh man, that espionage was really cool for the U.S., but oh wait, the espionage on the other side, oh, now you're a Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
So the winners of history write the books, right? So it's always that interesting dichotomy to see the two sides of it and how we spin different things due to our own perception of it. So it's.
No question. If you read about the Revolutionary War in England compared to the States, it's a totally different story.
I'm sure the story is told in a completely different way. And that's what people need to realize. That's why it's important to understand your history and look at different countries and different things that have happened and make sure that those things don't happen here. And I think that's where we get lost, different tragic things that have happened in other countries. Maybe people are trying to implement them here, and we need to be aware of that. Understand your history, do your own research. Don't just take it for granted what you're told in school or what you're told in the media. So again, super excited for 4th of July coming up, guys. I hope Chuck, I hope you're able to have your little, kid parade and you're able to dress up as a bald eagle again and lead those kids around the neighborhood.
Me too.
I need some pictures. We need some pictures. We'll post on
all right.
our Instagram or something.
And hopefully I make the top 10 list.
Yeah, waiting on a couple cancellations, and then you're up.
So good. Great show, guys. Happy 4th of July. Happy early 4th of July to all our viewers and listeners out there. Stay safe. Pay attention to the rules, whatever the rules are for where you are. We're not telling you to break the rules, but pay attention to that. Be safe. Your health is important, and enjoy your time. Great show, guys.
Did you have a Ask Paul Anything question or?
Chuck, did you come up with one? I was going to have you wrap up the show with a question for Paul.
I do have one.
Sure.
And I hope this hasn't been asked, but Paul, who is your favorite president and why?
I would say my favorite president is Abraham Lincoln, because I think he was in a period of time with such strife with the North and the South, and he had to some way get everybody together. So much stress on him because there was a lot of people during that time period that hated him. Obviously, he got killed. So that weight on his shoulders, and I felt like his message was good for the United States moving it forward with the Civil War and what needed to be done. And he came as a lawyer, so he knew the laws and regulations of our country, and just a brilliant guy, and the way he was able to talk with people and persuade his opinions. So Abraham Lincoln is my pick for favorite president.
I like that. That's a good one, Paul. And I think maybe it's very timely, on what's going on right now as well. So that was a good pick. And thanks for pointing out. I almost skipped our Ask Paul Anything for the day, but thanks, Chuck, for giving us that question. Man, great show, guys. Chuck, glad to have you on the show again. Glad you could come on for this, 4th of July episode and share some of the things that you and your family do and some different insights and those cool technological things. Those are like things I've never heard of. So thanks for sharing those little tidbits about 4th of July.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on again. I guess I didn't screw up too bad the first time. You brought me back.
For sure.
Hey, did we mention to subscribe to our podcast?
Oh, yeah. Well, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. There you go, Paul. Either on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform that you're on. Make sure to click subscribe or follow and don't miss an episode. Don't miss an episode, guys.
Great. For Justin Atherton, Chuck Thrash, this is Paul Fortune. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you next Monday. Thank you for listening to the show. Don't miss an episode. Click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform and find us on Instagram and Facebook under Actions and Limits to stay updated on all our upcoming content. Continue to email the show at actionsandlimits@gmail.com for our segment Ask Paul Anything. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.